What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the only guide that you need to watch in order to optimize your computer and have it running better than ever. So there are going to be some things that are very hardware based and very motherboard based in this guide. Now, those parts just depend on you as a person and PC that actually is custom built or has a pre-built. It has a motherboard that you can access all the BIOS settings in. But most of this is going to be within Windows. I'm not going to cover stuff like overclocking. All I'm going to do is going to show you how to properly set up your computer. Let's just say you bought a new computer or you just built it in order to make sure that you're getting the best performance out of your computer ASAP. So the first thing that we're going to do is pretty simple, guys. You got to make sure you're installing the right Windows version as of this moment. And the best Windows version to use is going to be Windows 11. And that is for most of your PCs, most new PCs, you should use Windows 11. And it's going to be just Windows 11 version 23H2. And the reason we're using Windows 11 is a whole bunch of stuff. But for example, if you have a high polling rate mouse, like an 8000 hertz mouse, you have to use Windows 11 to get the best benefit out of that. And then timer resolution is able to be brought back in Windows 11, so you can get that benefit of having timer resolution running. It's really that Windows version that you need to be using nowadays. There's really no point of going to Windows 10, especially since they're just completely not supporting it soon. So if you guys are looking for the best performance straight off the bat, just install Windows 11. And I just want to say, a lot of you might think, oh, it's still worse just because the bloatware, stock Windows 10 versus stock Windows 11. Windows 11 is going to be worse just because on Windows 11 there's a lot of bloatware, and that's just how it is. But what we're going to do in this video, we're going to just strip all of that bloatware out, so it's not even going to be a problem. And once you load up in game, you'll see how much of a crazy difference it is. But yeah, just download Windows 11. It's pretty simple. I'm going to leave the link in the description. So you would scroll down and then you would select download Windows 11 multi-edition, and then you're going to choose English, United States, or international. Press confirm, and then you would just click 64-bit download, and then it'll start downloading Windows 11 ISO file. Now, I already have this downloaded, so once you have it downloaded, here's what you're going to do. All right, so once you have it downloaded, all you're going to do is going to find where it's located at. So I have it right here, Windows 11 23h2.iso file. And what you're going to do with this ISO file is there's a couple ways to reinstall your Windows to Windows 11, but the easiest way is going to be just using a USB stick. So if you do have a USB stick, plug it in right now so you can use it, and you're going to use the USB stick to reinstall Windows. Now, if you don't have a USB stick, you can just right click on this file, click extract files, press OK, wait for this thing to finish, go to the folder, double click setup.exe, and then just follow what I'm going to do here. So install Windows 11, change, not right now, next, then just give it a second. So it asks for a product key sometimes. If you have one, plug it in. If you don't have one, then you're going to have to use the USB stick or a different method. So yeah, but most of you, this should work. However, it's not going to be as clean as the USB method. If you do have a USB stick, I recommend using that one. And then what we're going to do is we're going to search up, it's going to be linked in the description, but we're going to search up Ruffest, and all you're going to do is just click Ruffest 4.5.exe to download it, click keep, open it, press no. You're going to choose your USB stick from device. So let me plug in my USB stick. All right, so after you plugged in your USB stick, it will actually show the device under here. So as you can see, USB 64 gigs or however much your USB has. But once you do that, just make sure you choose it, and then you're going to boot selection, choose disk or ISO image. Click select, and then what you're going to do is you're going to find where your ISO file is located and just choose it. So we're going to do that real quickly. So as you guys can see, I'm going to double click on the Windows 11.iso file, and it will load up all the stuff right here. So what you're going to do is make sure this is on GPT. So once you have it like this, all you're going to do is just press start. It's going to say all the data on the USB stick will get wiped. So make sure that anything that's on the USB stick that you need, drag it over to your desktop or drag it over to a different drive. Just make sure you save it somewhere if you have important files on the USB stick. Then just press OK, and as you guys can see, it's going to start the process. Now, depending on where you plugged in the USB stick, it's going to take a pretty long time. I've seen it take up to 15 minutes. So just let it do its thing pretty much, and I'll come back once this is done. All right, guys. So during a certain point in Ruffest, it might just get stuck at a certain percentage. If it does, just let it do its thing. Do not close out of it. We'll lose the progress. So it's just going to be frozen for a minute or two, and then it'll start going back up. But as you see, it's done doing the installation. So now we're good to go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to restart to my BIOS settings and boot into the USB stick. And the easiest way to do this is to restart my computer and spam F11 on my keyboard. Now, if this does not work for your motherboard, you can try F12, and both of those should be the ones that bring up a boot menu, and then you can just choose the name that says UEFI colon and the name of your USB stick or the model of the USB stick. If it shows that up, just click that. It'll load into the Windows 11 setup, and then you can just go through that whole setup, and I'll show you the specifics that you should do within the setup to make sure that you wipe everything from your current installation and just have a clean, fresh installation of Windows. So let's get right into it. So once you're in the Windows setup and you see the screen right here, all you're going to do is press next, and you're going to click install now. Give it a second to load up, and then once it loads up, click I don't have a product key. If you do have a product key, just type it in, but most of you just click I don't have a product key. Then choose Windows 11 Pro. It's really important. Press next, and then just accept the terms, and then press next and click custom. And this is really important. You need to figure out which drive has your current Windows installation on. So for me, it's going to be drive 1. So I'm going to delete all the ones that begin with drive 1 partitions, and once I deleted all the partitions, I should only be left with drive 1 and allocated space with like 400 gigabytes or 500 gigabytes. It just depends on your SSD size. But once you've gotten that drive 1 and allocated space just by itself, just click on it and then press next on the bottom right. Then you're pretty much installing Windows 11, and you just go and follow through. Now, this is really important. If you guys have the Ethernet plugged in, just unplug it while you're setting up the Windows, just because it will start installing a whole bunch of unnecessary things that you do not need. All right, so once you've restarted and once the Windows starts loading, just let it pretty much load and do its thing. Just make sure you also have the Ethernet unplugged, just because it will install unnecessary things. All right, so just go through the setup. We're gonna basically have to go through this again just so we can skip the internet part. So once you're on, let's connect you to a network. You won't see the I don't have internet button, which is a problem that we're gonna have. So all you're gonna do is on your keyboard, press Shift and F10 on your keyboard, and it will pop up with a CMD prompt. Now this is really important. Make sure you do this step, or else you're just gonna have a bunch of bloatware and a bunch of useless drivers being installed if you don't do this. So yeah, just don't connect to your Ethernet and do not connect to Wi-Fi. Just do Shift plus F10, and then we're gonna type OOBE, all in capital. We're gonna be typing all of this in capital, OOBE / bypass NRO, just one word, and then press enter. It'll say just a moment, and it will restart your computer and go through the setup one more time. So once you're back in the setup, it's gonna ask you, is this my correct region? Just press yes, skip. Now, as you see, it says I don't have internet, so we're gonna click that. We're gonna continue with limited setup, and then just set up your device just like how you usually would whenever you reinstall Windows. So if you don't want a password, you could leave it blank. I just left it blank. Press next, and turn off all these privacy settings. We do not want these turned on. They're pretty much useless. Press accept, and then Windows will load up, and you're pretty much set up with Windows 11. And now we could get into basically making sure that we have all the correct runtimes and all the correct things that we need in order to use normal Windows. So let's get started with that and optimizing our Windows. All right, guys. So before we get started with the optimizations and the runtimes, we're gonna make sure we disable some security features within Windows that really just tamper our work and pretty much just don't let us run certain programs. So in order to do this, just go to your Windows settings. You're gonna go to privacy and security, Windows security, open Windows security, and then virus and threat protection. Manage settings. Just turn off real-time protection, and you're gonna scroll down and also turn off tamper protection. Now we can actually start running this stuff in this pack. So go to the link in the description and download the full PC optimization guide pack folder, and this is gonna have most of the stuff that we're gonna do within Windows. So all you're gonna do is just open it, go to the very first one, runtimes, and these are just runtimes that every PC should have, regardless of what Windows version, just because a lot of programs use this. So 7-zip is kind of important just because you want to be able to extract stuff and do all this stuff. So just install it. DirectX, just click type over here to bring up this exe. All you're gonna do is just double click on it, and you're gonna get this. Click accept, next, and just let that do its thing. Go back to runtimes, and Visual C runtimes, you need all of this. So just right click on it, install all, run as administrator, press yes, and just let that load and pretty much do its thing. And guys, do not uninstall these. I know some people, for some reason, they go to settings and they go to apps and installed apps, and they start uninstalling some of these Visual C++ things, thinking they don't need them. You actually do need them, and they don't really run in the background, so there's no point of uninstalling them. Go back. If you're on Windows 11, this is most likely already installed, but yeah, just double click on it, and it'll tell you if it's going to be installing or it's already reinstalled. So for me, it's going to pop up with, yep, it's already installed. So I just press close. All right, go back, go to basic tweaks and just right click on basic tweaks batch file. Click run as administrator, press yes. It's just going to quickly flash. You might not see it, but yeah, it's just going to apply that real quickly. And then double click on mouse fix, press yes. It's going to add the information, just press yes and okay. All right, now double click in sudo lg, press yes. And then you're going to check enable all privileges right here. Drag registry Windows 11 inside of that and then press run, press yes, and press okay. And the reason we're using in sudo just for this is just because some of these registry keys, they require more permission than an administrator has. So that's why we disabled those security features so we could get in sudo to actually be able to work. Just go back, install drivers. So if you're on AMD, you're going to be installing the AMD AM5 chipset drivers, and this just depends on the motherboard that you have. So if you're on AMD and you don't know what motherboard you have, just go to your search bar, type MSInfo32. It's going to pop up with system information. Baseboard product, make sure you figure out what it is. So it might be B650, B650E, it might be A620, or it might be X670 or X670E. Just note that down. Then once you figure that out, just close out of that. Double click on install chipset drivers. It's going to take you directly to the AMD support page. Go to chipsets, AM5, and then just choose the motherboard that you saw on baseboard product in MS Info. And then just click, for example, B650. Just choose Windows 11, download this, and just install the chipset drivers. That's all you got to do pretty much for AMD. Now, if you're on Intel, you don't really need the chipset drivers. There's not really any performance differences with it on and off. On AMD, you do get a higher boost clock just because Precision Boost Overdrive works better with chipset drivers. SDIO, this is just a universal driver installer. Basically, it's going to look through your whole PC and figure out which software can be updated and which devices need drivers. So just double click on this one right in the middle, press yes, press allow on the, do you want to allow public and private networks to access this app? Click download indexes only. That's really important. It's going to download all the indexes needed for your PC. All right, so once it's loaded up and it pops up with all these devices, just scroll down, find Intel Ethernet controller or Realtek family controller or killer internet controller. Just check it, and then if there's a Wi-Fi adapter, just check that as well. So Intel Wi-Fi or killer Wi-Fi or Realtek Wi-Fi, just check that. And if you need Realtek high definition audio, just check that. And then once you've checked all the drivers that you realistically need, you just press install on the left right here. It's going to start downloading the drivers that you need for your PC, and then it's just going to update them right off the bat. So we'll let this do its thing. All right, so once it's done installing the drivers, it'll say installation completed. Now you can just close out of it and then just go back again. Go to number 4, and this is to basically install our graphics card drivers for AMD and NVIDIA. So for NVIDIA, it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to be using DDU to uninstall our current NVIDIA driver, and then you're going to install latest NVIDIA drivers using NV clean install, which basically is going to install a debloated version of NVIDIA drivers. But yeah, just go to DDU, double click display driver on installer, press yes. And if you get this error right here, just restart right before using DDU and then it'll let you launch it. All right guys, so once you've pretty much done display driver on installer and click clean and restart, you can pretty much start installing your NVIDIA or AMD drivers. It's pretty simple. Just go to NV clean install for NVIDIA, press yes on that. You're going to click install the best driver for my hardware and then press next. It's going to start downloading. And then once it's done, it'll pop up with this screen. All you're going to do is just press next. However, if you do use a dual PC setup or you do need audio through your HDMI cable, then I would make sure to check HD audio via HDMI. Pressing next, letting it do its thing. Now once you're on this screen for the NVIDIA clean install, you're going to check the first 3. Check disable multiplane overlay, check disable ANSEL, show expert tweaks, check disable driver telemetry, check disable NVIDIA HD audio device sleep timer, check disable HDCP, and then check the last 2 options down here, and then press next. Then just press install on this NVIDIA driver and it will start installing your NVIDIA driver, and then you're pretty much good to go. Alright guys, so if you're on AMD, it's pretty simple as well. Just make sure you use DDU right before doing this, but all you're going to do is just double click on install Radeon drivers. It's going to take you to the Radeon support page. All you're going to do is go to graphics and then choose your graphics card. For example, let's say you have a Radeon RX 6950 XT. You would choose that. Press submit, Windows 11, and then just choose the latest one that is recommended with this one as of this time. Press download and just let that do its thing. All right, so once the download is done for your AMD drivers, you're going to go to AMD driver debloat folder, double click Radeon software slimmer, and then press yes. And it's really important. You're going to go to pre-install and then you're going to click browse, go to your downloads folder, choose the AMD driver, computer, press next, then you would press next again. It's going to be extracting the files for the AMD drivers. And now this is really the most important part right here. All you're going to do is you're going to click select none on top left. You're going to check AMD display driver. You're going to check AMD settings, and that's pretty much all you need for AMD drivers. Now, if you do need the high definition audio drivers, I would recommend installing these. So you would need these two. So AMD HDMI audio driver, AMD high definition audio controller. So if you need those, turn those on, but everything else you don't really need. It's just the AMD settings and the AMD display driver. Now you're going to go to schedule task right here and click select none. Pretty much don't need any of these as well. Go to display driver components. You also need none of these. So click select none. Now this is really important. You're going to click modify installer right here. Click that. As you can see, it'll remove all the stuff that we don't want. Then you can just press run installer and it'll pretty much just run through the AMD Radeon setup. And then you're going to go back, and if you're on NVIDIA, you're pretty much going to go to your NVIDIA control panel and then optimize that. Now, if you're an AMD, I will be leaving AMD screenshots of the AMD control panel with the optimized settings in that folder. So just look at those and copy them. But go to adjust image settings with preview. Use my preference emphasizing, which is performance. Press apply. Choose the middle one. Use the advanced 3D image settings. Press apply. Take me there. Click that. Gamma correction is going to be on for you. Set this to off. You're going to scroll down. Low latency mode. Set this to on. OpenGL rendering GPU. Set this to your graphics card. Power management mode. Set this to prefer maximum performance. If you're on a laptop, also do this regardless of battery life. If you're looking for battery life, then I'd recommend just clicking off this video, because this is a video to reduce your latency and increase your FPS. This is not a video to make your PC use less power. Preferred refresh rate, set this to highest available. Shader cache size, this doesn't really matter. You could do unlimited, but just set it to 100 gigabytes just so there's a limit. Texture filtering quality, set this to high performance. Threaded optimization, leave that on auto. Vertical sync, set this to off. Go to surround, top left, set this to your graphics card and press apply. Go to change resolution and make sure your refresh rate is set to the maximum right here. Press yes. Scroll down and then click use NVIDIA color settings, and then make sure output dynamic range is set to full. Apply. All right, and then do this for both of your monitors if you have to. Now go to adjust desktop size and position on the left. This is really important. If you don't use stretch resolution whatsoever, set this to no scaling. If you use stretch resolution using the NVIDIA control panel, set this to full screen. However, if you do decide to use your stretched resolution using the custom resolution utility method, I would still set this to no scaling. If your custom resolution utility method does not work with no scaling, that means your monitor does not display scaling, but I won't get into that topic in this video. So set this to no scaling if you're on native. Do this for both of your monitors if you have more than one. Click desktop on the top, click enable developer settings, and then you're going to click manage GPU performance counters. You're going to click allow access to all the GPU counters to all users and press apply, and it will restart your graphics card driver. Go to the full PC optimization guide folder again. You're going to go to number 5, which is disabling Windows Defender. This is really optional, but I highly recommend disabling Windows Defender just to increase your performance in games. And because you don't really use other programs on this PC, you usually use this PC mainly for gaming, I see no point and no benefit of using Defender if you are careful and you don't do sketchy things on the internet. So just double click in sudo LG, press yes, click enable all privileges, and just drag disable Defender registry file into there, press yes, and press OK. Now, if it does give you that error, that means one of these things did not import properly. So we'll go and check that out. So if you do get this error that just popped up, you haven't restarted yet, make sure to restart and then run this file again, and it should work perfectly fine. Go back, go to CPU microcode. Now this is really important. You're going to double click on the txt file. You're going to copy this first command right here, right click, copy, go back to the folder, double click in sudo LG, click enable all privileges. You're going to type CMD in this address bar, just press run, and then you're going to just right click on your mouse and press enter. And as you see, it deleted that file. Now I'm going to copy the other one and do the same thing. Now to double check that it actually deleted it, just run the command again. If it shows up this, then you're good to go and you deleted the microcode, which is just pretty much security features that you do not want. Then go back and then you can close out of the notepad, go to power plan. If you're on AMD, just right click on this and run as the administrator. If you're on Intel, right click on this and run as the administrator. I'm on Intel, so I'm going to press yes on the best power plan settings for Intel. And to make sure this actually applied, in your search bar, type power and click choose a power plan and make sure it's on high performance, not any of these other two. And then go to change plan settings. If you don't want your display to turn off every 15 minutes, set this to never. Click save changes. Close out of that, go back. Disable Xbox stuff. This is to disable your Xbox game bar and uninstall Xbox and game bar. If you do want to play Xbox games, you do need the game bar. And if you you do want to use Game Bar for voice chat and other things, you should leave it enabled. However, Game Bar does reduce your FPS by a lot, and it doesn't introduce a lot of input delay. So if it's possible, try to use alternative programs, or if you have the games on a different launcher, try to use the games on a different launcher. If you want to disable Game Bar and disable the Xbox stuff, just run these files with sudo, and then you're pretty much good to go. Go back, uninstall pre-installed apps. It's just gonna go through with bullcrap uninstaller, and basically it's just a program that completely uninstalls a program, including the leftover file. So show you guys an example. So double click on this folder, double click BC uninstaller. Now it'll be scanning your whole entire PC for programs and files and all of that. But as you see, it's gonna pop up with a whole bunch of files. So I'm gonna pretty much highlight all the ones that I do not want. So Clipchamp, Cortana, Dev Home, and you can highlight it by holding Control and clicking more than one. So Feedback Hub, Get Help, Mailing Calendar, OneDrive, People, Solitaire Collection, Sticky Notes, Tips, Microsoft To Do, and then MSI Driver Utility Installer, I don't want that, and then MSN Weather, don't want that, and News, I do not want that, Outlook and Office, check those, Power Automate, Quick Assist, and Windows Clock, Windows Camera, and Windows Calculator, Windows Maps as well, and your phone at the bottom. And then just right click on that and click Uninstall, and it will be uninstalling all of these programs just with one go. And you can do this for more than one program, and you can do this for other apps as well if need. So it's going to ask you, you need to close these applications in order to install. Just click Kill All, press OK. It's going to pretty much do that. Click Continue, and just click Continue again. Click Begin on an installation, and it will just go through one by one and start uninstalling stuff like OneDrive, the pre-installed Windows apps, and anything else that you highlighted in the application. Once it's done and you get something like this, just click Delete, and as you can see, it's pretty much done with those. Now you can click Close on the bottom right, and then you click Delete Selected, and as you see, those programs should be deleted now. And just to double check, you're going to go to your Windows settings, apps, installed apps. As you see, it looks way cleaner, and there's none of these bloatware that comes with Windows. Now you pretty much exit out of these two and go back to the full Windows optimization guide. So once you're here, you're going to go to number 10, which is installing your applications and launchers. And this can be Discord, Epic Games, Battle.net, Steam. Just install these programs, and just a general rule of thumb in all of these programs. For example, we're going to do Epic Games Launcher. All you're going to do is uncheck the things that cause them to turn on whenever you start up your PC, and make sure you uncheck the ability for them to run in the background. That's pretty much all you got to do in these launchers. Then go back and go to number 11, which is auto runs. This is a really nice tool that shows everything and anything that runs on your computer as soon as you start it. So double click on this, make sure to run as an administrator. So right click, click as administrator, press yes. It's going to show up with a license agreement, press agree, go to log on, uncheck stuff like this, Riot Vanguard, and this stuff down here. And anything that you have no idea what it does, do not uncheck it. You could be breaking your system if you do that. Then go to schedule task. Anything that's yellow, you can delete it. If it does give you an error, just ignore it and move on. But yeah, this stuff, don't really need it. NVIDIA broadcast, I probably do need that. Services, same thing. I don't want these Microsoft Edge update services, and I don't want this Intel Dynamic Application Loader Host Interface service, and I don't want this Microsoft Edge thing. And that's pretty much it. I'm not gonna touch the rest of these. So go to drivers, same thing here. Anything that's yellow, right click on it, click delete. Do not uncheck anything here. Leave it alone. Just delete anything that's yellow. Then you can close out of the auto runs, go back, go to cleanup, and right click on disk cleanup, click run as administrator, press yes, and on your keyboard type Control A, and on your keyboard press delete. And these are all the devices that are not being used, and they're just not there. They're just somehow on the PC for whatever reason. Now they're all deleted. Close out of that. Disk cleanup, just double click on that, and then select the drive you want to clean up. Choose your C drive, press OK. Click clean up system files, press OK again, and check pretty much everything. This is a fresh install of Windows, and if you are following this guide to a T, you are on a fresh Windows installation. But however, as you can see, there's 500 megabytes that we could delete that's completely useless and we don't want. So delete that real quickly. All right, so once that's done, you can go back now, and we're going to go to physical things that we need to check on our computer. So stuff like your USB ports and things like plugging in your graphics card correctly, and things like your temperatures need to be checked at this point right now. So I have a video on how to check what best USB ports are on your computer, and this is mostly for AMD. So if you're on AMD, highly recommend watching that, just because there are separate USB ports that are better than the others on AMD. On Intel, it's not really like that. Just plug it anywhere in the back, and you're pretty much most likely fine with that. To check your temperatures, and this is really important, regardless of what PC you have, you should be checking your temperatures. Just open up your Microsoft Edge, type HWinfo64. It's going to take you to this page. Click the first link, you're going to hover over installer, free download, click local, and close out of these ads. Then you're just going to install this program program. Just click finish, press yes on that, and then it's going to pop up with this. Make sure you check sensors only, because that's the only information we need as of this time. Click start, and it's going to scan your whole entire PC with any sensors. And then you can just click these two, click those. But as you can see, my core temperatures are 40 degrees, and that's with nothing opened, and my CPU package is around 40 Celsius. So to properly check your temperatures, I would recommend launching up your game that you usually play on a daily basis. Launch it up and make sure that you're not reaching above 75 degrees on your core temperatures and on your CPU package. And if you are reaching above 75 degrees, then there is a problem with your CPU cooler. And things that you can try are cleaning out the dust in your PC. That can help a lot. Replacing the thermal paste if you haven't done that in a very long time, especially since you bought the PC. And the third one is making sure everything in your BIOS regarding fan speeds is set to full speed or turbo, and that is including your water cooling software. So stuff like NZXT Cam, Corsair IQ, go in those softwares and make sure your pump and fans are on full speed, and that usually solves most of your overheating temperature issues. Now, if all of that does not fix it, then you are most likely a victim of a really bad CPU cooler that came with a pre-built, or a CPU cooler that is just going out and you need to go replace it. So if that's the case, I'll be linking some of the best CPU coolers in the description. So if you are interested, go and buy those CPU coolers that are down below. But that's to check your temperatures. Now, to make sure that your graphics card is plugged in correctly, you want to look at the glass side of your PC if you have a glass panel. If not, take it off. Check the power cables on your graphics card. If you have power cables, make sure it's two separate power cables. It's not just one that is using an extension to fill in the other port. Make sure it's two separate power cables that go directly to your power supply, not one that just has an extension. The reason for that is just because a lot of the graphics cards pull too much power, and if they pull too much power out of one PCIe cable, your graphics card will either crash. Just in order to avoid that, in order to avoid crashes, just make sure you have two separate PCIe cables plugged in directly into your graphics card. That's pretty much it. Now, as I said before, make sure there's not that much dust in your PC. Dust can be causing a lot of issues in your PC, especially dust around your memory sticks. Now, on the topic of memory sticks, we will be discovering that your memory sticks have something called a memory profile, and there is a JDEC profile, which is just stock memory speeds that is very slow and hurts your performance. And then there is the XMP or DOCP or Expo profile on your RAM sticks that set your RAM sticks to the rated speed that you bought them for. So if you haven't already, go to your BIOS and turn on XMP or turn on DOCP or Expo. Those are really important settings that boost your FPS by a lot. So make sure you do that if you have not already. Now, on the topic of BIOS, if you do want your PC to be completely optimized, BIOS and Windows, without any issues and without any headaches, then go to the last folder and you can go directly to my website where you can book a PC optimization service. Or if you're just interested in an overclocking service from one of my specialists, you could go and book that on my website. I do have a wide selection of services, so if you can't afford the most expensive service, there is two bottom tiers that are just as good, and they will get the job done more than you'd expect. So if you're interested, go to that. Other than that, guys, that's gonna be pretty much it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, comment down below if this boosted your performance, if you have tried it, and if you have some issues regarding this guide, make sure to comment down below. I'll be continually updating the folder if there needs to be any changes. Anyways, guys, that's gonna be pretty much it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and hope you guys learned a thing or two. I'll see you guys in the next video, and peace out.